So being political science, I knew I wanted to try and get into the parliamentary internship program. So I kind of was set on that. Not so much the country, but I wasn't set on the country, but kind of the program is what drew me to choosing this one, and got in. So then it all worked out. But I ended up falling in love with Dublin, so kind of all worked out. But I definitely chose the program or the internship first. Like that was my goal, and then happened to be in Dublin.
So I actually was very, very close to going to Rome with my best friend, but then I ended up changing my plans last minute. So what happened was I kept looking for a program that wasn't like as popular at my university. And so no one had been to Cape Town in I don't think anyone had been except for one person a couple of years ago. So I was like, this would be kind of cool. And so I just kind of went for something that wasn't super out there. But also secondly, I was also looking in terms of what places I may not be able to visit like later. Just in terms of what places, if I don't take the opportunity to study abroad, like when else would I visit here kind of thing. And so Cape Town seemed like the perfect fit. So that's why I chose that one.
We were met right when we went eat outside the gates by an Arcadia staff, and we waited for everyone within that time frame to get there. So it was kind of nice because you got to meet everyone while you were waiting for people to arrive. So like friendly faces. And then we were all taken to a central location because we did orientation at the Dublin Center, Arcadia Center, which was like a day or two, and then they took us to our housing. So it was a very smooth process, and it was nice to be able to meet people that you're going to be living with like right away because you travel alone. It was kind of nice just to have like other people in the same situation right away.
So I was meeting Arcadia in Edinburgh, and then I did not fly into Edinburgh. I flew to London and then took a 4 or 5 hour train. But what was really nice is that even though I wasn't flying into the airport, Arcadia sent out this, big piece of paper or like pamphlet kind of that had all of the information about arrival. And there even was a section for if you were arriving at the train station. And fortunately, the hotel that we were meeting at was really just right across the street from the train station. So I had my 2 huge suitcases, and I ended up taking probably 10 or 15 minutes to walk to the hotel. But then it ended up being that I just took a different route. So if I had actually found the right route, it definitely would have just been about 2 minutes. And then I just met people at the hotel, and then we had an orientation there for the next couple of days, and it was great and just really well organized, and I felt very comforted. I know that I looked at the kind of pamphlet so many times and had it printed out, and just really wanted to make sure once I got there I would just know exactly which way to go. Of course I still pulled it out to look at it, but it went really smoothly.
I think you framed it really well as far as the variations on housing based off of the program that you're attending. So some programs, there's just one choice and everyone lives in the same building. And other programs, there are going to be many places you could choose from as far as where you're going to live. Sometimes there's a homestay, sometimes it's in a campus dormitory, similar to probably where you live on campus.
So I actually ended up getting my 4th housing choice, but it ended up being so good. It was a dorm style building that had 4 floors or 3 floors, and I was on the top floor. So we lived in dorms that you would share it with one other person. My roommate ended up being another US college student who went to a university on the other side of the country. So that was cool that we got to talk about that. And then we ended up, there were every 5 rooms, you shared 1 kitchen. So there were 10 girls to 1 kitchen because the kitchens were the same gender. And then we had, let me think, about 5 bathrooms in the hallway. So anyone within that part of the hallway could use those bathrooms. And then some of them have had individual showers as well. So yeah, I had a really good dorm experience. It definitely reminded me of freshman year. I think that I initially had wanted to be in the so-called student apartments that were closer to campus, but I ended up really liking living in Cairn Cross, which is the name of my dorms, because I just felt like I was surrounded by a lot more people, and there were a lot of like 4-year round students, so they were getting, like, we all just got to bond over that. There were a lot of international people. And what I heard about the student apartments is that people were a little bit more, didn't get to interact with as many people. So I was really happy with that because obviously for my abroad experience, I really wanted to just meet as many people as possible. So I did 2 Arcadia Highlands weekend trips in a row. The first weekend, and these I had signed up for over the summer. So the first weekend we did kind of a historical weekend. So we went to, a castle and Loch Ness and like the site of a battlefield. And we really got that this experience of like, I don't know, immersing ourselves into the history. And I thought that was so cool. Again, it was really cool to get to hang out with all of the other Arcadia students from different Scotland programs, because then you would just talk about, how your programs were similar or different, and just meet people from other places. And then all of the Arcadia staff working in Scotland are great people and so fun. And, we all got to know them really well. We had a traditional Scottish ceilidh. I would highly, highly recommend going on those excursions.
I went on like every single excursion that was there just because it's one of the best ways to explore around you. I know at least Arcadia and Cape Town, there's no extra like costs associated with it. Like whatever you've already paid in the beginning or through your scholarship that's it. Like there's no additional money that you need to pay. So I went on like all of the excursion trips. My favorite was definitely we went sea kayaking with the whales, and I've never seen, until that point, I had never seen whales in my life. And then one got super close to my kayak, and I was like, oh my gosh, like one of us is not gonna be alive today. Spoiler alert, we both made it. But that was definitely a very fun trip, and also it would have been very like pricey or like expensive if I had to do it on my own. So I'm glad it was part of the Arcadia package.
Even though I was on a very specific program, I still had the chance to do, I did pretty much all the excursions. Some of them we traveled, like Barcelona was one of my highlights, and the Arcadia office there. I also do, one of my other favorite ones was we flew to Edinburgh, picked up students there, and it was just kind of a tour of all of the Roman ruins. With Arcadia, I remember that was a highlight. But there were also events in Dublin that didn't require traveling to, some weekends you couldn't travel. And it was cultural nights, we went to a live action Great Gatsby night, which was also a highlight. So you didn't have to go anywhere, you didn't really have to commit a full weekend. You wanted to stay in Dublin and do things in Dublin, but you could still get that experience. And again, I saw so many of the same people who were maybe 3 hours away in Ireland, but studying at a different school, but you saw them at the same events. And so that was kind of cool as well. So when they came to Dublin, to show them around.
I definitely will say I found it more difficult than here, purely because there's less discussion and more lecture. The classes were really big, and they had hundreds of students, and it was mostly lecture style because it's a large, very large university. But something that was cool about what they do at that university is because I guess they recognize that they're a huge university and classes are big. So they have, University of Cape Town has a tutorial session that they do. So for every class, you will have something called tutorial, or they call it tuts over there. And these tuts are mandatory. So you have to attend them, or you will not be able to take your final exam at the end of the semester. So these tutorials are where they happen in different sessions. So you can join whichever goes well with your schedule. And these are where you'll have 10 students or 12 students, very, very small. and you'll have someone leading these discussions, and that's where you discuss the readings, that's where you discuss your homeworks, that's where you ask questions. So more so than lectures, these tuts are what helped me the most.
Depending who you interned with, like I interned 3 days a week, like you go in the afternoon. But I think the biggest challenge for me was they don't do tests. It was just lecture all semester, and you had one final at the end, and that was your grade. So for me, that was very different than like going to Iowa State, where you take tests every week. So like just being on top of that.
They were very different from my, just US university. I would say because most of them are just extremely more lecture based. Also, like I also go to a smaller size US university, so going to my abroad university was just a lot bigger. So naturally, there's just a lot bigger classes. One of the things I noticed is that a lot of the times in my lectures, they would actually advise students not to raise their hands to ask questions or participate. If you wanted to have a discussion, then you would go to a professor's office hours or possibly your tutorial, which was a smaller group of students. So I think it was tough at first to adjust to that, but you adjust and then you just learn kind of the ways that you should study to in order to do the best in those classes.
I'd say just keep your options open. Maybe you find one location that doesn't work out for your major or what credits you need. So maybe you just need to stay open and maybe look on other programs that might have what you need, as well as you don't have to go for a semester. There are awesome summer programs. You do not have to go for a full year either, because that's not feasible for everyone. So just keeping those options open really, and like looking, it may be something you wouldn't consider at first.
I agree with Martha. I would definitely say keep your options open. If you don't think it's feasible for you, think twice. Work with your university, work with Arcadia, and then also once you end up going, be open to things, just not going your way necessarily, or things changing, or you not, you being a little bit confused at first. That's really the beauty of it, because you just get to figure things out and really learn a place more so than just being a tourist. And that's just such a valuable experience.
I say just do it, because you're never going to get another opportunity where you are sort of in this place for an extended period of time, like a semester or a couple of weeks. And, you're you don't have to worry about getting back to work or paying like the bills kind of almost. So I say this is a good time to be somewhere new, explore the city, explore the country, explore your life over here. Because in the future, I don't think you'll ever get like 4 months off of work or 4 months off of whatever else you're doing to go and just live your best life in a different country. So I say do it if possible. I think everyone should take this opportunity.